"Oh, I also have a favorite quote," she said. "When life gives you lemons, squeeze it in people's eyes, but you don't even have any lemons to squeeze." Abaucho said, looking at Omichi with a smile, breaking into laughter that everyone joined in. Omichi looked at Abucho, smiling back. "Well, there are so many eyes in this village, your lemons must be really stressed out. I hope they don't get saggy," Omichi said. A brief silence followed after, and people stared at each other's faces, trying to hold their laughter. In the beautiful and tranquil village of Agasia, blessed with picturesque waterfalls and scenic landscape, there was and lived a girl called Omichi. She was the daughter of Queen Chioba, the second wife of the king. Her father, King Obina, had 3 wives, and Omichi had 3 other siblings, from different mums in the palace, an elder sister named Abaucho, and 2 junior brothers. Omichi was a very beautiful girl who loved painting and spending time outside with nature. She was known for her gentle and kind heart. She was slenderly shaped, and it suited her perfectly. However, Omichi had one problem, one thing that plagued her every waking moment: her flat chest. From a young age, Omichi struggled with her appearance. She remained flat-chested, watching her peers blossom in their teens, her figure failing to develop as expected. Despite her beauty and kind heart, Omichi's lack of curves became a source of insecurity and ridicule in the kingdom that maintained unspoken societal beauty standards. Since she passed the age of puberty, Omichi started facing cruel jokes and judgment from her peers, the villagers, and even her mother because of her flat chest, unlike her elder sister Abaucho, who boasted curves that turned heads and drew men. Omichi felt like she was overlooked and invisible in comparison. Her mom, the queen of the village, would often scold her. "Omichi, you must grow something on your chest if you want to get married." Are you a man?" her mom would say. Omichi would sometimes put clothes in her chest and try eating a lot of food with different recipes, and even use local drugs her mum would suggest, but it wouldn't work. Queen Chioba even took her to the traditional herbalist to make her daughter grow breasts, but no matter how they tried, nothing worked. The people of Agasia village interpreted a curvaceous body as a sign of fertility and would usually talk behind Omichi's back, calling her Prince Omichi instead of a princess. Any time Omichi was walking in the streets of the village, she couldn't help but feel self-aware and would subconsciously compare herself with curvy women and even little girls in the village. All the cruel things Omichi faced led her to creating unhealthy habits. She became very quiet and was always silent in her room. One evening, as Omichi laid on her bed in her royal room, drawing a picture and humming a beautiful melody, her mum quickly rushed into the room. "Omichi Prince Ganje from Dango Kingdom is coming to our village next month to check for a wife. If you get married to him, the bond will strengthen us and change our lives and make you queen. Omichi, you have to get ready," her mum said, looking into Omichi's eyes, and she summoned the maids carrying a lot of foods in trays in. Omichi looked at her mum with an unsurprising look. "You must grow and look like a woman before the prince arrives, my daughter not like..." her mum said, making a sarcastic face. Omichi nodded in agreement, her face pale from the embarrassment of disappointing herself and her mum, and she proceeded to eat. For the next couple weeks, Omichi ate 6 times a day every day and stayed indoors to save her strength. Her elder sister Abacho with her friends would come and make fun of Omichi in her room. "Look at her eating everything, the only thing growing in your body is your stomach, tiny fish." "Abacho," her sister said, laughing ecstatically. "See a complete bride here, do you think the prince will look at another prince?" she said, laughing with her friends. Omichi looked at her sister Abaucho with a disdainful eyes and continued eating. Every single day her mum would bring her meat and fish and foods of different sorts, and Omichi kept eating, and she ate until she fell sick from overeating. The little weight she added got lost again after she fell sick, and this made her mum very angry. "Omichi, look at you, With all the food you ate, do you think the prince will look at someone as skinny as you? Her mum said with a frown on her face. The depression from her disappointment made Omichi become more sad and even more sick. After a few days of her health getting better, Omichi had recovered and she decided to quit eating 6 times a day and eat the way she was supposed to. I won't kill myself for any prince. Anything that wants to happen should happen. The morning sun was glowing a deeper hue of orange that morning. Finally, it was the day of the prince's arrival. The palace was in anticipation, and everyone was preparing excitedly. Abaucho, dressed in a white, elegant, seductive dress, walking around the palace with an aura of pride and confidence, while Omichi was in her room trying to decide the clothes to wear. But she couldn't pick one. Her mum came looking into the room. "Omichi, you haven't dressed. Why are you like this? Why do you want to be so useless?" her mum said, and she shook her head. This words hurt Omichi and made her so angry. "Mother, if you want. Nobody is stopping you from marrying the prince. Just leave me alone. I've had enough of this." Her mother was in shock, and she looked disappointed. "What a disgraceful child," her mother said, and she bashed out of Omichi's room. Omichi's heart was full of guilt and stress as she looked at her closet, with clothes of different colors staring back at her. "Don't overthink it," she said, and she closed her eyes. "Any clothes my hands touch, I will wear," she said as she walked with her eyes closed to the closet. Her hands fell on a cloth, and as she opened her eyes, she saw it was a wine royal gown. Omichi wore the clothes and started dressing and grooming herself. "They are here, ooh," a voice shouted and a trumpet sound echoed. Omichi quickly finished up grooming her hair and face, and she ran out of her room towards the palace. As she ran, pulling her long royal gown, a stick caught the gown behind her back and ripped away the lower part of the gown into halves. Omichi was in shock. Seeing the dress she had picked was now torn. She panicked and wondered what to do, and quickly went to change her gown. She wore the same clothes she had taken off and headed on to the palace. On getting to the palace, everyone was already gathered and the royals were introduced. Omichi didn't want to call attention to herself, so she hid behind some group of visitors who accompanied the prince. "Trying to hide that much, you should have worn a camouflage," a manly voice said. Omichi turned around and saw a man dressed in royal attire, looking down at her with a smile. "I wanted to, but they wouldn't fit," Omichi responded. The man let out a smile, looking at her. "I am Seudo, the cousin to the prince," he said, "and I am the hiding princess of the palace," Omichi responded, and this made Seudo chuckle. The announcer started introducing the royal titles of the palace to the prince, and it got to the turn of the princesses. "Princess Abaucho, daughter of Queen Maoi," the announcer said, and Princess Abaucho showed herself majestically to the prince. The announcer continued, "Princess Omichi, daughter of Queen Chiyoba." Omichi raised her hands, trying to signify where she was, but nobody could notice. "She's right here," Seudo said with a soft but overwhelming voice that made everyone quiet down, and he walked her through the crowded palace to the front of the prince. Everyone was in utter silence as she was walking by Seudo to the front of the prince. The prince, named Ganje, looked at her with an emotionless face, and Omichi stepped aside, standing beside Abaucho, who looked at her with an angry and sarcastic grin. Prince Ganji stood up amongst the people. "We will be spending a few weeks with you to get to know your customs and our bride-to-be. Thanks for all your warmth," he said. And everyone smiled and started chatting. Seudo walked up to Omichi. "Wow, you really had everyone silent for a minute there," he said, and Omichi smiled. Abaucho watched Omichi with a disgusted face, but later changed it into a smile when Prince Ganji approached the trio. "Well, it seems we already have a party here," the prince said, walking into their company. Seudo smiled at the prince. "You surely are good in crashing it, right?" he said as Prince Ganji cast his eyes on Omichi and moved them to Abaucho, before smiling, looking into Abaucho's eyes. "Walk with me," Prince Gange said, stretching his hands to Abaucho, who accepted his hands with a smile. Suido and Omichi were left watching them. Walk into the crowds. Aren't they just perfect for each other? Omichi said, Yes, I think so. They both kind of walk the same way already, Suido said. And both of them smiled, staring into each other's eyes like friends who had known themselves for a long time. Mind showing around? Suido said, breaking the silence, and Omichi agreed, taking Suido around the palace and also showing her the scenic parts of the village. Omichi told him of her hobbies and the art she made, and Suido also told her about the poems his heads usually come up with when left alone. They both talked in understanding like two lost souls who had known themselves in their past lives. Villagers who would usually giggle behind Omichi's backs could only watch her and Suido, not uttering a word. For the next few weeks, the bond between Suido and Omichi grew, and they were always seen together. Also, Prince Gange was always seen chased around by Abaucho. One evening, Prince Gange told Suido to invite Omichi for an evening hangout, as all the young royalties of both kingdoms would be meeting. Omichi was reluctant at first, but Suido convinced her he would be by her side. When Suido and Omichi arrived at the party, a few glances was thrown at them, and Prince Gange beckoned on them to join him and Abaucho, and they both walked towards Prince Gange. They all talked about different topics, political and normal conversations, and throughout the dialogues, Omichi's wit, intelligence and sense of humor couldn't but shine through her. She and Suido chemistry was undeniable. They understood themselves like old friends, which made Abaucho jealous. Prince Gange threw a question out to the conversation. Let's assume a large kingdom wants to take over another kingdom without bringing war. How will you ladies handle it? He said, pushing the question out to Omichi and Abaucho. Omichi was in silence for a while, and Abaucho looked completely ignorant and uninterested in whatever Prince Gange was saying. Then Omichi spoke. To take from a person without stealing, you have to offer them something bigger and make them want something you have. To take over a kingdom without war, you have to offer them something bigger, like a sit of power, in your kingdom, and when they're completely relaxed, you take what's theirs. Omichi said. Prince Gange and Suido stood surprised and impressed, looking at Omichi, and she continued. When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade, sell it for double your price, and buy the lemon tree. Suido looked at Omichi with a proud and satisfying smile, which made Abaucho jealous, and the prince also started clapping his hands, which made everyone silent. Abaucho, feeling left out, reached to Prince Gange. You know, I also have a favorite quote, she said. When life gives you lemons, squeeze it in people's eyes, but you don't even have any lemons to squeeze. Abaucho said, looking at Omichi with a smile, breaking into laughter that everyone joined in. Omichi looked at Abaucho, smiling back. Well, there are so many eyes in this village, your lemons must be really stressed out. I hope they don't get saggy, Omichi said. A brief silence followed after, and people stared at each other's faces, trying to hold their laughter. Suido finally bust out laughing, which made everyone also join, laughing at Abaucho, who looked seriously pained. The royal hangout was ending and everyone started leaving, but before they left, they greeted Omichi with respect, something they had never done before. Omichi and Suido weren't ready to go home, so Omichi took Suido to one of her favorite spots in the village, the waterfall that radiated with the silver, shining bright moonlight. They both sat on the green, soft grass at the edge of the cliff and talked for hours, in a moment of silence amongst them. Suido looked to Omichi. I think I really like you. Like really, really, he said, looking into Omichi's eyes, who looked back at him. I think I really like you too, she said. And they both stared at each other's eyes, which seems to pull them closer, and they leaned forward, kissing each other. After the kiss and a few snuggles and embrace, they decided to head back to the palace. When Omichi and Suido got to the palace, she met fresh lemons served on the table in her room. Oh, "This must be my mum," she said, "always bringing food for me," and she stretched the lemons to Sweedo, who collected it and put it in his pocket. Unknowingly to them, it was Abaucho who put the fruit in Omichi room. After a week of Omichi and Sweedo relationship blooming, it was now time for the prince to announce his chosen wife. Everyone gathered at the palace, Abaucho dressed in her elegant attire, and Omichi in her same casual gown standing beside Sweedo. It was obvious to everyone in the village who the bride was. It was the same Abaucho who has always been with the prince since he arrived. As Prince Ganje was about to speak suddenly, he was interrupted by some group of warriors from his kingdom marching in. They carried a crown and blew a trumpet. "Your Majesty, your father." King Anine has succumbed to his illness and has passed away. The crown mustn't see sunset without sitting on a head. And they walked over and crowned Prince Ganje, who now has just become king. Abaucho was overjoyed. She was getting married to a king, and she already started daydreaming of her queendom, which would start in a few seconds. King Ganje then spoke. "People of Agasia, I came to your lands to find a wife, and I got a queen. I came to find a virtuous woman, and I have found one. I came to find a woman who will rule besides me and lead nations, and I have found one. Behold your queen, Queen Omichi," he said, and the entire palace fell quiet.